We're live.
Are we?
Yeah, it says you're live.
Are we live?
I think that means we're live.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
I feel like I love my mother, but I feel like a little bit like my mom. Hi guys. Hi friends. You okay there?
I'm expectorating. Okay, we're good.
What?
When you haven't talked for a while and then you say something loud and it just kind of comes up like a bunch of phlegm, and now we're good.
Is that called expectorating?
I think so.
Are you saying it live? I'm not.
Okay.
It says live. Are you
Yes.
seeing? Hold on. Sam is here and she's gonna help us with the questions. Are you guys seeing us? Are you seeing us?
If you do see us, and now it says we're live. I think maybe we're live.
There's a delay.
Okay.
Yep, I see you now.
Okay,
We're
see,
here.
We're in now. Hi, friends. Thank you so much for being here for our ADHD is Awesome book club. We're going to keep it super cash. Put your questions in the chat. It's 7:00 Eastern, and I'm still wearing a bra, so this is a really strange time for us all.
It's so we've been watching a lot of world records in the Olympics. This is a world record for Kim, at least in a while.
To have a bra on.
Yeah, to have a bra on, especially in the house.
Of course, in the house.
Right,
like out, I wear a bra outside the house.
That's
just for the children.
So you guys, this is it's our first book club, live book club, and it's for ADHD is Awesome. If you're here, it means that you help support us probably by reading the book, by buying the book. I cannot tell you how much that means to me and to Kim. I can't tell you how much it's maybe going to mean to the people that you love, that you're trying to understand this wonderful type of brain a little bit better. So we are so incredibly grateful to all of you. I want to start by saying it's a book club and we want it to be as interactive as possible. And the best way to do that on a YouTube live stream is for you to ask as many questions as you want to in that little chat area.
So we have people from it's Kitty Youngley. She's from Washington, D.C. Janelle from Shenandoah Valley, Virginia, and Nakona. She says she's excited to be here. So, and Jennifer, been looking forward to this all day. You're so sweet. Yeah, but book. So Jennifer has the book and the audiobook. I didn't want to be so super salesy with this book because like it's about, you're already asking people to buy something. But when I have, especially a nonfiction book, I will buy the book or either go to Libby or whatever, or I'll go to Audible and I'll get the audiobook as well. And it helps me to like reinforce it. So I didn't want to be so salesy, but we've heard from people that that's really been great, especially with people with ADHD. Okay, so should we get started?
Let's do it.
Okay.
So many of you sent some questions ahead of time, and we're going to weave those in and out. But we're going to break this in. It's going to be about an hour. So stay as long as you'd like. Stay for the whole time, and we'll be absolutely thrilled. And we're going to break it into 3 parts, just like the book. So part 1 of the book was really about the misconceptions, the common ADHD symptoms, and also we talk a lot about ADHDers' kryptonite, which is boredom, and how to fight that. The second part is more about we say rebranding, deleting the stigma, and finding a new way to look at ADHD. And the third part is really about the systems that we put in place, not only me as someone with ADHD, but also my...
Should I be like writing this down the chalkboard?
We could try that, guys.
Except for the only problem is this is all the chalk we have. We didn't really plan this out.
Right.
So 1,
let's see how much
2,
she can write.
3. Okay, there's 3 parts. So what was the first part?
Well, it's symptoms, misconceptions.
Got it. Yeah. About. Okay.
Yeah. Let's do about. You just got to keep this really short because it's quite the nub. All right. So 2, the best way to say 2 is changing the narrative.
Narrative.
But change.
Can you see this?
Yeah, we can. You're doing
great. And I'm going to do change. Isn't that change?
Yeah, and how about number 3 is just thriving. How about thriving?
Thriving.
It's good about thriving, the systems that you can put in place and the way that you can change
literally just hit the chalk.
your environment.
Okay,
so
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to start by reading. Like, if you're here, I bet you finished the book, and if you did, thank you. But
and if you didn't, no judgment.
Yeah. So the definition of ADHD is, I think most of us know it by now. My favorite thing to read from page 3 that we wrote is what ADHD is not. ADHD is not a character flaw. It's not a shortcoming. It is not a choice. It's not a referendum on your parents for failing to instill discipline in you or for not paying enough attention to you as a child. It's not a fad, a trend, fake news, a clever play by Big Pharma to make a killing selling unnecessary medications, or a scare tactic to drive up television ratings. It's not a ginned up excuse to get special treatment.
There goes his computer.
My computer just fell on the ground. But you know what I'm doing? I'm staying on task. It's not a ginned up excuse to get special treatment at school or at work. It's not a pass to behave however we want because, ADHD. And it is certainly not a badge of shame, even though ADHD has a very long history of very shameful names, which we'll talk about in the second part.
Yeah, I think we always say ADHD is an explanation. It's not an excuse. But we have encountered in our life some ADHD deniers. And I would ask you guys here that are live with us if you guys have encountered that as well. There are some people who just say, like, oh, that like everybody has ADHD now. So how do you deal with that? I'll ask you that. When people say, oh, it's just video games, it's whatever, everybody has ADHD right now.
Yeah, I mean, I have an entire lifetime to point to, so it's pretty easy for me. Like ADHD, those of you who have it know that it's not something that you get and that you can get rid of. It's something that you're born with because it is a particular type of brain. So I think that the name doesn't help, right? It's called a disorder, and it sounds like just something that, okay, now I got ADHD. Whereas it is a brain difference, and I think that what I tell people is to try to rethink, or just come with me for a moment while I explain to them and get rid of all of the things that you've preconceived and listen to what I say about what it does to the chemistry of your brain. And usually, once they understand that, they say, oh, yeah, that's not the way that it was told to me, which is totally understandable because it has been misrepresented for a long time.
Okay, so Jennifer says, yes, most teachers were amazing, but my son had a couple along the way who just wouldn't work with us. Same. In our experience, like some would, some have said, like, he's just spacing out. I'm like, well, like let's work on this. Like maybe a seat at the front of the class, maybe permission to walk around a little bit or leave the class, things like that. So same.
Also, a great thing if you ever have a conversation with a teacher to hit them with, which sometimes it may take them back a little bit, and say, these people who are fidgeting, who are having trouble sitting still or having trouble paying attention, yes, those are some things that they have to work on. But in the end, they're going to be the ones who have incredibly creative ideas and come up with phenomenally creative solutions. And really, I think most teachers, what they want in a classroom is people who have the capacity to learn in that way. So I will say definitely better than it was when I was a kid and getting progressively better. In fact, we have a question from Shelly.
Okay. Hi to San Jose, California. Hi from Pennsylvania, New Orleans, Seattle,
Lake Bluff, Illinois.
Oh God.
Alaska.
Who's from Alaska?
Julia.
Okay, Julia, we're huge fans of Valerie Faulkner. Did I get her name right?
Oh, that's right. I was like, we were just talking
Is
about
that her
Alaska, the bicyclist.
So listen to this story. This
ADHD.
woman.
Yeah, she's from Alaska and she just won a gold medal, and
Yes.
she was an alternate and she won a gold medal.
No, but she went to Harvard and was like a rower, and then took a cycling class 5 years ago, and then she won her second gold medal today.
Why don't you
Look at the camera and tell that story.
Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry,
question
it's
from
amazing.
Shelly. What's wrong?
New Zealand.
New Zealand. Stop it.
No, we're going to get every state. We've got Granbury, Texas. We've
Yeah,
got
the
New
great
Zealand.
state of New Zealand.
The great state of New Zealand.
The Sunshine State.
The sunshine. Hi, New Zealand. What? It's AM for you, so I appreciate you. Maybe you're getting ready to go to work right now. Okay, so Shelly, my adult son is diagnosed with ADHD. I'm undiagnosed. I'm feeling like I have it too, but in different ways than my son. Is it worth getting a diagnosis? And how do I know? And how do I know who actually diagnoses adults? I will say this: it in women, people of color, different populations are historically undiagnosed. As girls, typically it goes as inattentive. So you are just this rule following girl, but maybe are inattentive in class and struggle in school different ways. But because you're not bouncing off the walls, like maybe sometimes the boys are, you're not the first for diagnosis, and women can mask really well. And so we actually have a friend, and she's 50 years old, and she read this book to be supportive of us. She doesn't have kids, and she just was supportive of us and wanted to read, and she was interested in it because we were interested in it. She said, holy bleep, I think I have this. And then she went and got diagnosed. And I think the diagnosis for her, from her point of view, just having a name for it, like put the puzzle pieces together to explain so much of her childhood,
Mhm.
so much of her struggles in school, so much of her struggles with, different areas of life. So for her, it was helpful. And so if you feel like that would be helpful for you, it would for me. I always think it's best to know about your brain. So for adults, it's different. In a pediatric sense, if it's a straightforward case, in many cases, a pediatrician could diagnose. But when it's mixed with different things like anxiety, autism, you have to go
Mhm.
see an actual therapist. For adults, I don't know if an adult general practitioner can diagnose, but so you might have to go through a psychiatrist, psychologist, and that always is kind of a wait. But
Yeah. So girls get diagnosed 3 times less likely than
they're
boys.
3 times less likely to get
Yeah,
diagnosed. Yeah.
than boys because of what Kim just said. I mean, women are expected in society to internalize their difficulties, right? And then imagine carrying that with you, not being diagnosed as a child, and then going into becoming a woman. You may be part of, kind of a fairly typical household where the woman is responsible for the sign up genius and all of the things that are very difficult for people with ADHD. And so that leads to a lot of shame. I felt a lot of shame as a child, and I've heard from a lot of women who feel that as well. So what I tell them is always, 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 if you think you might have it, um, the least you can do is go to a doctor. We also had a great question from Carolyn, who asked if there is any kind of link between ADHD and anxiety in girls. Pretty sure my daughter has it, but her pediatrician has noticed some signs of anxiety. ADHD gets along really well with anxiety.
And so what I would do is so a lot of times with women too, it's they're given a diagnosis of anxiety and it's actually ADHD, and a medical professional, a therapist, a psychologist, psychiatrist will have to parse this out because especially in children, ADHD and anxiety, they're kind of parallel.
Right.
And so to tease out one or the other, I think you need a professional diagnosis, but they are so closely linked. And then Stephanie said, it made me realize all the things I thought were bad personality traits were actually signs of neurospicy. Yeah, like once you know that that's how your brain works and it kind of lifts the shame and you just know like that's the way you are, I would imagine a diagnosis would be helpful. And so Makona said, speaking to Caroline, just speaking from my own anecdotal experience, I know that my ADHD and anxiety were very intertwined. I was undiagnosed growing up and received a lot of criticism that made her anxiety worse. So yeah, it's interesting. ADHD, it's very rare to get diagnosed alone. Like there's a lot of times it's ADHD, anxiety, ADHD, autism. Like there's a lot that goes into it. Okay.
So I feel like this might be a decent time to pivot to part 2.
Do you want to talk about this though? Lisa, you guys said in questions, so I want to make sure from Lisa.
Yeah, and that's also part of part 2.
Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
You mean for superpowers?
Yeah.
So Lisa said.
But I guess we just covered that.
Yeah, I would say.
But so. Just it occurs with other superpowers and like learning disabilities, autism spectrum disorder. Do you have any comorbidities?
All right. I've not been diagnosed with anything. So I get anxiety. I've had panic attacks. They are.
But he doesn't live with anxiety.
They are infrequent. So, but I want to explain that because people can have anxiety without having anxiety disorder.
Right.
So those are 2 different things. There are quite a few people who have ADHD and anxiety. I have ADHD and I experience anxiety in a way that I think, and doctors have told me, has to do with the emotional dysregulation that comes with ADHD, which if you've, reading the book, it is one of the most unreported things. What's going on?
I just realizing that's like backwards and
what's backwards?
It's not backwards.
It's not backwards. Okay, maybe
it's backwards for you.
Maybe it's backwards for you.
It's not backwards for us. What's going on here?
I don't know.
Kim, does that look backwards to you?
No, I just thought maybe on the backwards screen it would look backwards, but I thought it'd be flipped though. Okay, anyway, continue.
Look, you're sitting on the right and I'm sitting on the...
I just don't want it to be distracting. Okay, we're going to go through changing the narrative, part 2.
Well, quick question.
Yeah. Sam is here.
Oh, say, by the way, this voice in the...
Oh, please don't show
Y'all, we're showing Sam.
No.
Sam is on our moon pod.
No.
If your mom is watching, she's got to see you.
Yeah.
Ashley wants to know.
No, she doesn't want to.
Her ADHD daughter wants to know how many times Penn's mind wandered off while writing the book.
Oh, Ashley, all the time. In fact, a lot of times I just included it in the book.
Yeah,
like we would there. That's what the Post-it notes are for.
Well, and all these, like, you see a different kind of color and doodles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are different times. You see a Post-it note here. Oh, Sunny, come in.
But that's Ashley. That is our dog's trying to come in.
Sunny, come in.
Ashley, that is why ADHD is so great, because sometimes wandering takes you to a place that allows you to think of something in a totally new way, which is a lot of what this book was. And what I did to kind of finish the book, two things. Number one, I set micro deadlines, and we're going to talk about that in part 3. And number 2, I just stayed really focused. Like when my wife just walked away while I was answering a question, and
it's our dog.
And yes, but the dog's fine. We're going to be good. So no, good question, Ashley.
Okay.
Oh, we have so many good questions.
We
have a question from a teacher. Can we do that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, this just came in from Nicole McNeil. As a teacher, I've seen some amazing creativity from my ADHD students. When I've talked to parents about ADHD, some are in denial. How should we approach parents in this conversation?
Ooh.
Well, I will say this, Nicole. I think many parents are in denial because of the stigma and misrepresentation of ADHD, which is what part 2 of this conversation is all about. If you polled 100 people on the street, I think that still, even with the work that people are doing, I think that 90 of them would say, okay, a person with ADHD is a space cadet who is never going to hold down a good job, who's going to end up in jail or cheating on their wife or becoming an alcoholic, which, statistically, a lot of times we are predisposed for those sorts of things. And that's it. And so, it's the way that doctors hand down the diagnosis. Some doctors, at least classically, when they handed one down to PC, like, it didn't sound great, right?
So I think her question is like, how to talk to parents who are in denial. I don't know what you can do about that, because I do personally know people who are resistant to that label, because for some reason getting a learning plan or getting that there's a concern. I don't know what you can do about that, except for saying, like, wow, this is just try to preach the gospel here, and that the ADHD brain there are studies that show the ADHD brain is more creative, like the solutions they come up with. So just talking about the positives.
Yeah, I think education would help, right? Or just understanding,
right.
Or attempting to say, hey, I'm not sure how much you know about this, but it's not what you think it is. If you are in denial, it's probably because you think it's something horrible. You can move them toward a website like Attitude, or you could give them a book. Like, I don't want to be the guy who says buy my book. There's a ton of books out there, but find a resource that shows them, okay, it's not even the right name. It's not a good representation of a name. It's a brain difference, and it is. A lot of doctors have said the most treatable of neurological disorders with huge upsides.
Do you want to talk about getting in for the second part there?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so part 2 of the book it highlights changing the narrative, and we were just kind of talking about this, right?
Right.
And renaming ADHD, and also some of the upsides. So ADHD is one word that probably makes sense being in there, which is attention, and then 3 words that probably have no business being in there. I do not have a deficit of attention. If you spend time with me, you will notice that I will see more things than you see. My brain takes in more stuff. It's the way that my brain was built. I have trouble focusing that attention. So it's not a deficit. Let's start with that. I did have some hyperactivity growing up, but a lot of people with ADHD don't. And so that's a bad word too. And disorder is incredibly debatable when it's something that's actually a brain difference that you live with, and it's a type of person that you are. So the cards have been stacked against us. There have been even worse names for ADHD. It used to be called morbid defect of moral control. That was the name of ADHD several decades ago. So,
I don't want to distract, but here we go. So we should take a question from Brooke, who sent one in. How do I help my friends and family be open to the idea that I don't need to change or conform to their neuro standards. Also, I've noticed things besides stress that make symptoms worse. Okay, two questions here. It is, with all the awareness of sort of the superpowers of it, I have become more like the fact that, like, what is normal anyway, and what's normal. And so I think, you don't want to be the person that is. I think something Penn has had to work on is, interrupting and listening. So there's like things that are just social niceties that you should learn how to do, but just being like normal, like, I don't know why we strive for that. But do you have things that make your symptoms worse? I think
Me?
when you don't sleep well,
Yeah.
or
So
if you don't sleep well, or you have like you get too much stuff for work or something like that, things are not amazing.
right. My symptoms are awful when it comes to sleep. I do not do well when I remain in the same place, like location for the same time. So if I have 3 hours of Zoom meetings and I'm just sitting in the same
Yeah,
computer, the boredom creeps in, and to me, boredom is like torture because we're all starving for dopamine.
it's torture.
Right. We came up with a term called borcher for that on a seminar with Attitude, and that seems to be catching on.
Hmm.
So also I'll tell you this, and I want to always talk about the emotional side. When I don't have sleep, and when I am when my kind of fight or flight nervous system takes over, like if I'm in a fight or if something has gone wrong, I flood emotionally still. And I've learned how to handle it as a 49-year-old. But I remember as an 8-year-old, as a you guys, as a 15-year-old, like like an almost fully grown adult, I would get so flustered emotionally that I would cry, and it would be for reasons that most people don't cry. And so like my biggest struggle with symptoms for a long time was centered around the emotional side. It's also one of the most misunderstood parts that people don't necessarily talk about, even in the diagnosis.
Lauren had, I think it's Lauren, my eyes are terrible. Has the question, do you have tips on time management? I've struggled in school
Hmm.
in the past and I'm studying to become an EKG tech. Go you.
Hmm.
I've gone back on my ADHD meds to help as well. By the way, use those meds if they work for you. And if absolutely, Penn currently, he always gets asked, he's currently not on medications, but his job and life, he's not studying for a big test right now. If he were studying, if you were in law school or studying to be an EKG tech, he might need those. But right now, his life is set up in a way
Hmm.
that his ADHD symptoms, he can deal with them. So, tips are for time management.
I have a bunch. So do you want to, like, that's part 3. Do you want to just get rid of the parts?
No, we
And
can
just
go. Okay.
but we can do that.
Okay.
So yeah, time management to me, like, again, we're like snowflakes, right? People with ADHD are like snowflakes. No two are alike. But for me, the struggle for time management is making sure that I get everything done in a timely manner, and I don't the train doesn't fall off the track.
Hmm.
So the two big things that I do is I make a handwritten list every single day of things that I have to do. It's handwritten to me, and I do it very early as soon as I know what I have to do. It's handwritten to me because the art of checking off the box next to the thing that I'm doing is become one of the most important things in the world to me. And it is of the productive dopamine hits, it is one of them. It's not even a small one. Checking that thing off feels really good to me. And then the other thing that I did, and the daughter was asking if I had spaced out a lot during the book. The only reason I finished the book is because I set micro deadlines for myself. And to explain that, that means I didn't say, oh man, I've got to finish this chapter in a week. I say, I've got to finish this page in 30 minutes. And if you keep the finish line within sight when you have ADHD, you have multiple boxes to check and dopamine hits to feel better about. So you make the finish line closer. And for me, you make it a little bit challenging, right? Like, do you think I can do this in this much time? Like, this might be difficult. And that activates the competitive part of my brain that really helps me work harder. And so keeping tight micro deadlines and checklists are the two things that I've done the most for time management.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a few
Yeah.
questions. Laura asks how to be a good teammate to coworkers with ADHD.
How to be a good teammate to coworkers with ADHD. I think everybody with ADHD, what do they say? If you've met one person with ADHD, you've met one person with ADHD. So I know for this teammate of mine, he works in a different space, but purposely there's not food. He works on our like finished attic space, but purposely there's not food nearby because food can be a distraction to him. But I also know if he's head down working on something and I need to get his attention, I literally have to like stand in front of him and wave my arms. Also, but these are things like we had to develop. Even being married to him, I didn't realize this is the way he worked. So I also know that if I just told him 8 things that needed to be done today for our work job, he would get very overwhelmed. I have to write it down. So I think asking somebody like, what's the best way, to get the most out of this amazing brain of yours? Do they prefer working in a space that's near the water cooler and there's lots of distraction and they get, inspiration from being around people? Or do they need something that's a desk that's farther away? Do they need to put a sign on the back of their chair that says like, don't bother me for 15 minutes? I just like figure out the best way their brain works. What do you think?
First of all, you've been incredible at this.
I
Like
have.
you literally wrote the book on this, right? Like on how to work with someone. You have to work with someone. You have to live with someone. You have to be married to someone with ADHD, and now you're raising someone with ADHD. So you
It's
have
a lot, y'all.
it is. I know it's a lot. So I try to take a moment, and I've taught my son to do this to look at the people who are with us and say thank you for putting up with us. I call it our particular type of crazy. I don't know if that's like politically correct, but I like
No,
saying
I don't think it's putting up with.
well, but listen, there are parts of ADHD that are frustrating. We wrote this book and it's called ADHD is Awesome, with full knowledge of the fact that in the way that most of us call it awesome, it's not awesome.
Many
right?
times it's not awesome. And in fact, you want to read that one out loud?
Oh my gosh, I'm as blind as you are. What would you suggest for kids who are being bullied because of their superpower?
Superpower in air quotes.
I love that. Being different can feel like you're a target. Well, I got bullied.
That sucks. I'm sorry.
I'll tell my story if that helps. The people on the playground knew that like pretty quickly that they could get to me by making me cry, and it was really easy. And it was easy through elementary school. It's easy through middle school. Because I got really emotional about stuff. I would say things that were a little bit off the cuff that I think would be creative, and they didn't really jive with the kids in the playground, so they would make fun of that. I chewed on my shirt all the time, so it's kind of gross to have spit all over your shirt, and people didn't like that. And so I'm only telling you this to say that it happened to me, and it sucks. And I think for me, what got me through those times was finding like my people. And the one thing I would say to a kid is if you go to school, you're not the only person with this. You're not the only neurodiverse person. There's a lot of other ones there. I found a bunch of them were in theater and in
he found
in
his
musical
people
arts.
in theater, and I think theater kids are the best kids. Well, I just feel like the theater community in general is very, very accepting, and even my son did a stand-up comedy. There's like a kids stand-up comedy and improv group. He found I think there are communities that are very accepting. Unfortunately, the school environment, it's where you spend so much of your time. It's just hard. But I will say for the emotional dysregulation piece, Penn even says it, as your kid gets older, that part does get better. But man, I'm so sorry that's happening. That's hard.
And this has nothing to do with any ADHD research, but my dad told me that 2 things. He told me that when someone bullies you, think about that person who's bullying you, because they may be having an even worse time than you are. And it's almost
hard though.
I know it's hard. It's almost always true. And the second thing he told me was like, the next time someone makes fun of you for something, just say, "Oh yeah, you're right."
Yeah, which takes the wind out of their sails.
Which I tried, and it worked. It works sometimes. Like, hey, you're like skinny. You look like a chicken legs. Yep.
Yep. Colleen says
What I
her
got.
daughter has found her people in theater.
Oh, great.
Yeah, she's going into 8th grade this year.
You see Michelle's question?
What is Michelle's
Mhm.
question?
What are Kim's personal coping strategies for emotionally managing ADHD?
Oh, okay. What are Kim's personal coping strategies for emotionally managing ADHD around you? Um, First of all, there are times when because right now, like my son's 14, and my husband can take care of himself. So there's times where I will dip. I will go upstairs and read a book. I'll mindlessly scroll on my phone probably for too long. So I will definitely, there are moments where I definitely prioritize myself. But there have been moments, and they've been recent moments, where things that were due or supposed to be done, or a grill that stayed on for 3 days, like there are things that are
Outside grill, if it's any better.
outside grill.
It's not great still.
Was on for 3 days. And I think it helps because I have my own brand of I deal with anxiety. And so there are certain days where I'm like, hey, Penn, can't do it. I'm just like vibrating with anxiety. And he shows me endless grace. So I think it helps that A, he shows me grace, and B, I see the people in my life doing the work. I don't think I would be able to handle the leaving the grill on for 3 days, the outside grill, if I didn't see him, like he is always going back, checking himself, trying so hard. So because he's worked so hard, has it always been like that? No. I mean, we first moved in together. His ADHD, by the way, when he was like a single guy, his ADHD symptoms didn't bother him, like so I
Yes.
think that in the beginning it was definitely he's sort of evolved.
Yeah. So the early part of my evolution, I lived by myself, and usually I just, like let's.
He
just be
had
honest.
one towel.
But so I would go to the other person's house. Like if there was a "whose house are you going to" question, I was always like, "Oh, I'll go to your house."
Yeah.
And eventually she's like, "Well, let me see your house." And
he had one towel. This has nothing to do with ADHD. Just him.
Why do you need more than one towel?
He was like, well, you're clean when you're using it.
It's true.
And
you're almost cleaner because you got a little bit of soap left over. It's like the towel washes itself.
He had one towel.
Mhm.
And so, yeah. Anyway.
So there's a question here that I think is very applicable to you guys right now.
Okay, Sam.
Leslie says her son was diagnosed at 9. He's 16, about to get his driver's license.
Okay.
He's a pretty good driver, but his tendency to lose focus scares me as far as safety.
Okay. So if you guys can hear, so Leslie's son was diagnosed at 9, is 16, studying to get his driver's license. He's a good driver, but she's worried about him losing focus. My son is 14 and a half, and in the state of North Carolina, you take the classroom part of driver's ed, but that includes 6 hours behind the wheel training that he just did. I have to say, like, he was saying he's just done it with a professional driving instructor. I think it's so new to him though. So I don't know.
It's going to come down to ADHD people are great drivers if they can keep their eyes on the road, if they can focus on what's going on in front of them, and not only keep their eyes on the road, but like be aware of where they are and what moment they're in.
I guess there's an advantage for just being able to see everything.
No, it's not great.
Not great.
So not when you're driving. I'll tell you this because
I need to make Leslie feel better.
No. Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. There is ADHD people are set up for success in driving because their reaction time is generally pretty good. But they've got to edit their environment, right? Like that's just like when you're in a classroom or you're doing homework or you're in an office, you have to constantly be thinking about editing your environment to keep things out of the way that could affect your ability to function executively, right? Mm-hmm. So, I work in an office with like one tiny sad window because the trees and the outdoors and the sky makes me, it's wondrous and wonderful and I love it and I will stop working if it's there. When Kim is talking to me and we're sitting down, what do I do? Like
he tries to really, but I also have to call it out. So this is part like with your coworkers. You're asking about how to work with your coworkers, your family members. I literally have to say, I have to talk to you about something, or it literally could be a grocery list or something. And he has to snap his attention. Mm-hmm. But for driving specifically, I would like to stay in touch with you because I would like you to give me
Yeah.
tips because I don't know.
Well,
So
here,
what if
yeah,
it's like pre-planning some
right. So
trips?
here's what I'm going to tell PC. He,
Look
sorry. Here's what I'm going to tell my son. The phone goes in the glove compartment, in the back seat, like wherever it is. Okay. Um, Before he leaves, he needs to leave early for wherever he's going to go because people with ADHD suffer from time blindness, right? And so when you're in a hurry, that's when stuff goes wrong. That's when you took a wrong turn or you panic. So these are just some actionable things I'm going to tell my son. The phone is nowhere near you. You hopefully have a car that has some sort of GPS device. If not, you try to find one that'll call the directions out to you while you're driving, so that you don't have to look down. Okay, and then the last thing is just giving yourself enough time, so that you don't get flustered because that's when things go bad.
Okay. Um, uh, so it says, please make me feel better. He's so eager and excited to get his license and have some independence. By the way, like Penn is a great driver.
I
Like
feel so safe with
Penn,
Do you?
Sam even says, I feel so safe with Penn. And I have to say, my son, knowing this was coming up, we've been driving for the last year, and he'll ask me questions. This is just him like asking questions. So he was so eager and ready. And so what we do know about ADHD, Leslie, is that if it's something of personal interest, these guys can knock it out of the park. So I really think he's going to do great because if he's really eager, if he was like reluctant, because there's a lot of kids who are reluctant to get their license, if he's really into it, he's going to do great.
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
fully believing that my son's going to do well as well.
I will say that everyone here read the book, and they read the part about when I was getting bullied from the back seat and I jerked the car off of the road and it went into the ditch.
But that was because he got a wet willy. So just like maybe limit friends in the car for a bit.
Wet willies are the worst.
Yes. Okay.
I think they can go back to the talk.
Oh yeah. Okay. It's fine.
I'm letting Penn drive the bus here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about rebranding it, but not enough to do some of the positives, which I kind of love doing. We talked about in the book some of the famous people who have ADHD. Some of them are amazing athletes. Some of them are entrepreneurs. It wasn't mentioned in the book, but people like Thomas Edison had ADHD. And I think it's important to note that a lot of those people of note who have ADHD have invented something out of nowhere or done something that no one else has ever done before. That is what if you have ADHD or your child who has ADHD is 100% capable of. And that is the bottom line. I have a friend who works at a bank. Her son has ADHD, and she's been telling the people at the banks, okay, these people who have ADHD who are coming through and applying for a job, they may have a little trouble listening to you in a meeting, but they're going to be the ones who disrupt the industry and come up with something completely new. So it's something at the very core of what I believe. I asked the question in the book, and I ask it to people all the time. If there was a button presented in front of you and that button would get rid of your ADHD and everything that came with it, would you push that? I think that it totally makes sense for people to want to push that button. I believe that ADHD is a brain that I have, right? And that brain that sometimes causes me to trail off and not finish conversations and not be able to make it through a tough moment without being emotionally overwhelmed. That same brain allows me to do my job, which is creating stuff out of nowhere, which is writing music, which is editing and solving difficult puzzles when it comes to video. And also from the emotional down, like being able to translate into these emotional highs where you have a joy of life that is beyond comparison. I think that they both coexist. And so for that reason, I would never push that button. And I think the more people that realize the upside, like the other side of the coin, because there's always another side of the coin, the more likely they might say, you know what, I'm not going to push that button.
I would love, this is like a great community here, just even in the chat and people talking back and forth. I would love to hear either your person who you're here for, like what you see their superpower.
Mhm.
We were on one of these lives, and I kind of offhandedly said, because Penn even wrote about it, like, oh, I could never be a lawyer, all that reading. We got so many emails from ADHD lawyers because they're like super,
Oh yeah.
they love contract law and they love tax law because that's a personal interest to them. So they find it, and their superpowers, they can hyper focus and tune everything out and read about tax law. So I would love to hear your superpowers. And so kids with ADHD are highly intelligent and creative.
Oh, this is great stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, compassion and forgiveness. Heidi says her ADHD husband is forgiveness. So you can talk about that too. What we learned about the sort of this like capacity for forgiveness that is pretty frequent with ADHDers.
Yeah, so our brains, and Marcy Caldwell helped me understand this. If you've got a moment for a little bit of a journey here, there's a fishbowl on the front page of the book. So her theory, and I think it's a good one, is let's see that fishbowl is blue, which means that everything's okay right now, right? Sorry, that fishbowl is blue. What's the color of the book? So let's just say it's blue. Okay, everything's okay. And something goes wrong. You fail a test, or somebody walks by and calls you a dingus, and it really hurts your feelings. In an ADHD brain, it doesn't just affect the fact that you failed a test and you're not going to get done with this class. It darkens the color or changes the color of everything around you. It turns that to red. The sky looks different. The world looks different. You go from feeling normal to feeling less than. And that's why shame is such a big part of people with ADHD, because all of a sudden you feel like there's something fundamentally wrong with you when something goes wrong. And it goes pretty quickly. In our family, we call it flooding.
Yeah.
And it's because of the emotional component of ADHD. But because our brain is the way it is, someone might tell you a funny joke, or your friend might fart, or something might happen to distract you from what's going on, and very quickly that color changes back. And so and everything is okay, and it's almost like that thing that just happened didn't really happen. And to the outside observer, it can seem quite bizarre and sometimes even a little strange. But when you're in a fight with someone, or you're mad at somebody because they did you wrong in some way, that particular part of the emotional side of ADHD makes you really good at forgiving people.
It is so annoying because one of my superpowers, like if there were an Olympic event for holding a grudge, I would win gold
We
for our
talked
country.
about this yesterday.
Yeah. I would win gold for our country. So there are things where, as an adult, a friend will say, make a snide remark or like make fun of him for something. And he's like, oh man, whatever. And the guy will apologize. And I'm still pissed off. And it's 2 years later. So this capacity forgiveness is a good one. Somebody Kim preach. See, grudge holders unite. Okay.
Laura said the superpower for ADHD is contagious excitement and creativity.
Laura said contagious excitement and creativity.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Oh, when Penn's excited.
When Penn's excited, the world it's a good.
Let's go.
Let's go when Penn's excited. Yeah.
I really do work with the best people.
You do.
Thank you guys.
That to my son, I've used the expression that ship has sailed when he's responded, I'm in a rowboat catching up. Yeah. So
my superpower, forgetting. No, but like legit, that can be useful sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, forgetting your keys or like forgetting that the grill is on.
Oh yeah, I got that too.
Yeah, I mean that's not amazing.
But also, forget it. It's fine.
Like your friend who did you dirty, also not fine for me. But Kat says problem solving and seeing things outside the box. Yes, that's studied.
Can I read Kat G?
Yeah.
When my daughter is throwing a tantrum or really mad, I can get her to laugh and everything can be okay instantly.
That's that fishbowl brain, man. Yeah. It's now my family calls me Miss Google because I know a bunch of stuff about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
steel trap.
If
you care about it.
Well, if you care about, but I also think the ADHD brain is very cool that it can lead down some rabbit holes. So and you can kind of hyper focus and all of a sudden a lot about,
Valerie Faulkner.
Valerie Faulkner, who's like a cyclist from Alaska who went to Harvard. I know all about Valerie Faulkner too. Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting me go down that route and talking about the good stuff. And also, we're going to keep reading comments if you guys want to talk about some of the good stuff. I love being in these groups. They're intimate and they're small, and people feel like the ability to really say what's on their mind. And so, keep telling us like what's going on because we want to share. And I'm already feeling so much better hearing some stories from you guys because as someone with ADHD, I feel seen, and I hope that you feel seen too.
Do you have
ask some people what they thought about, like any feedback or their favorite part of the book?
Do you have any feedback? Sam is here in the corner.
Yeah.
That was an Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
Anne-Marie.
Oh,
Anne-Marie.
Anne-Marie has chimed in.
Anne-Marie would like to know if there was a part of the book, Anne-Marie specifically, not us.
Like, what'd you really like about it?
Tell us we're
Was it Anne-Marie's part where she wrote, because Anne-Marie had a page?
I think guys just comment the part that Anne-Marie wrote.
Just say like the part that Anne-Marie
It was a great, it really was.
It was about work. No.
I did like Anne-Marie's part because it was about coworkers.
Anne-Marie says Anne to the chat. Anne-Marie is
she has control.
Anne-Marie, she's entered the main frame.
Oh, can we, because this is like a good small group, can we tell some funny inside stories about work here? So Anne-Marie she's our Midwest neighbor, and she is hilarious and funny and wonderful, and she keeps the ship running. But if like something goes wrong, and we need someone to
we call her Anne.
She's Anne.
Well, because we'll work with some people, and because her email will say Anne-Marie, and then they just call her Anne. So like when business Anne shows up, like if Anne's on the call, it's going down. Yeah, and then Sam and I just hide in the corner because we don't like confrontation.
I don't have a serious because I'm not serious.
She's like, Anne, can you deal with this?
Yeah.
The empathize section was so helpful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting hearing Anne-Marie talk normally. Yes.
Well, the empathy that was you. Like that's so empathy is about when we get into the systems that you can put in place to like not only survive with ADHD but thrive with it. The empathy part was really Kim explaining how she communicates with me when something goes wrong and uses empathy instead of correction.
Well, okay, this was also taught to me because I learned so much in researching this book. So what was a light switch for me was learning how information goes into the information just passes through and doesn't even like get absorbed into an ADHDer's working memory. So I know that the grill was turned on to cook the burgers on Sunday, but after he turned it on, he had to do burgers and brats, and he was doing a lot of things, and he was bringing in like the dirty plate, and he was bringing out this, like he was going in and out. So the fact that he had turned the grill on didn't really enter his working memory. So turning it off wasn't even something that registered. So learning that it didn't even register in his brain. So when I sat down in the chair yesterday and I looked out and you can kind of see the heat coming off, and I was like, I think our grill's still on.
Well, it was raining.
It was raining, and so you can kind of see it. And so again, I think because he does the work, he has this capacity to show grace when I'm going through my stuff. Me getting really mad and frustrated in that moment was not going to help. So the phrase that Emily King taught us was like connection, not correction. So in that moment, it like was not the time. But then afterwards, the next day, it's, hey, okay, now he sets an alarm when he's cooking on the gas stove in our kitchen. Maybe we set an alarm when you're grilling, just to like have that cue. And when, the temperatures, has figuratively and literally come down, I think that was huge because I was not always incredibly patient with his, goofs. So
yeah, the grill had 4 of those dials, and I turned 3 of them off. That's the part to me. I'm like, what happened after the 3rd dial?
He got bored.
No, it wasn't that, but something happened. Something like a squirrel, or because I was outside, or maybe I saw something on the grill. I don't know what the hell it was, but I can't believe I turned off 3 dials, but not the last one. Thank goodness it was just one because it wasn't really that hot. But yeah, thanks for being so forgiving. And again, like it's connection, not correction, right? That's the best way to remember it.
But again, like especially if you have a kid who you know, or there's something like, or a partner, like it is, I'm not going to tell you it's not incredibly frustrating, but it just does not in that moment. Like there's so much flood of emotions. Like it's in that moment, it's not always the time.
Can we read some more comments? We
Yeah.
just got a
There's
bunch
some
of them.
great compliments about the book. People love the color coding.
The color
People are like,
coding.
thank you.
Easy to read.
Anne-Marie and Sam were Sam did a lot. Anne-Marie and Sam did a lot of work making sure everything was, because you guys know, okay, so if you do a Post-it note, then you have to say like what page and where it goes and the fonts and the spacings and the graphics. Like it's a lot of work. You can't just say, hey, can you just put a Post-it note over here? It's a lot of work. It's Sam and Anne-Marie.
Do you know the story behind the Post-it notes? Like we would get done with the manuscript.
And you have to read it and reread it and reread it. And you like 12 different times and you're moving chapters around.
And then it goes off to an editor and then it comes back. And so I just kept having things I wanted to add. And I would put a note on the side. And finally we were like, can we just make Post-it notes in the book?
Yeah, but so every time that happens, then it's like, hey Sam, can you make a Post-it note? And so yeah.
Makona says thank you, Sam and Anne-Marie.
Thank you, Sam.
Oh,
Sam.
Anne-Marie.
Yes.
And we call them when they're together sometimes Sam Marie.
Sam Marie, that's what our kids call them.
They call them Sam.
I think this might be a good time to let them know the exclusive bundle.
Do you want to? Will you come in and talk about it? Because you made the bundle.
Oh,
Sam.
Okay.
Yay, Sam. Okay, you guys. So Sam is a huge. Oh, first of all, this is huge. Sam. No, you sit. You want to sit?
No,
no. Stand?
No.
Okay.
Stand right
I got it.
Hi.
Hi, Sam.
Sam.
Okay, so I have to do the ad. Okay, we have a new bundle up on our shop. It's an exclusive bundle. There's only 100 of them.
All right, there's 99 of you here.
Everyone,
this feels like home shopping now.
Sorry.
No hate to home shopping.
Our phones are absolutely swamped right now.
Get in right now.
That's
Get
right.
in
They
now.
don't even know what they're getting yet. Okay, in the bundle.
It's a jar of farts.
One hair on Kim's head. Sorry, I lost it.
Oh, people would pay for
Oh no, they
Okay,
would
sorry,
not.
I
No,
ruined
you're
it.
fine.
A signed
A
book.
jar of farts.
Wait,
A signed book.
a signed book.
An ADHD is awesome t-shirt.
ADHD's awesome t-shirt.
And a ADHD sticker pack.
Sticker pack.
Which are illustrations from the book by the
Mhm.
incredible Sarah Kempa.
Mm-hmm.
It's up on the shop right now, $65, and shopholderness.com. And like I said, there's only 100 and then they go away.
Then they go away.
And right now, this is the only place you can get a signed copy.
This is the only place you can get a signed copy. Well, thank you for that commercial break, Sam. You did any of it?
No, stay. What else is on your mind?
So,
How you doing?
we did sell Christmas jammies in 2014 on the Home Shopping Network. It was fascinating.
They made us try to sell a bunch of other crap.
I know.
first.
They're like, since you're here, and
Yeah.
we were literally in. First of all, great people, lovely setup. But we were literally in our pajamas, and they're like, "Come on the set and help us sell these knives." And we're like, "What?" It made zero sense, but it was fascinating.
Do you remember what they said at the end?
What?
We were like, so what was this all about? And the guy was like, oh, I'm just worried that like you guys are pretty much you have.
Oh yeah, they're like
nothing left.
You have nothing left. So
yeah.
And so we're like, I think we're good. We're fine.
Well, no, it motivated me. Like we got to get to work.
I feel like, oh, whatever. We're fine. Okay, what else?
You are in that drink right now.
You guys, hydration.
Max is here. He says, I love y'all.
Max Trujillo? Oh, yeah. He edits our podcast. Hello.
Oh, someone has a suggestion here.
What's it?
Maybe think about creating an app that provides resources and in-the-moment support, kind of like the new Good Insight app.
Good Insight. No.
Okay, we're gonna look into that. Jane,
Yeah.
I love that.
I mean, we can't give in the moment support, but
I know.
Maybe there's like an AI situation like Lisa does.
I know, but that was like AI. I thought you hate AI.
I do, but I think the thing that she did is really cool. So Dr. Lisa Demore, she's been on our podcast.
Great.
Her website's great.
She has like an AI who it's just a
it
conglomeration
searches
of all of her stuff. So unfortunately, all of our stuff would be this book and a bunch of Instagram parodies, which I don't know if those are going to help. Maybe they will.
What Instagram video should I send my mom today?
Yeah. Okay. Kim, cool. My ADHD brain just missed that. Where do you get the exclusive deal, Sam?
Oh, Sam.
I just put it in shopholderness.com.
Shopholderness.com.
Check out. Did you see Lisa's comment? You want to read that one?
Lisa
Holly. I was waiting for my car to get fixed.
Oh, okay. Lisa, I was waiting for my car to get fixed. I was reading your book, and a woman sat down next to me with her daughter. She asked about the book, and that sparked over an hour-long conversation. That is what we want.
Oh my god.
It's y'all. It's the conversations. It's not us talking to you. It's the people that are talking to each other in the comments section to get to know each other. And this happens over and over, and I love it.
I love the comment section, and we've been in these lives before, and people have connected, and they're connecting offline to support each other because I think it's just the coolest community. Because ADHDers are the real ones. Yeah. Okay.
So a couple more things, and then we're gonna give them a present and let them get off. Get off.
We're gonna let you go. Do you guys have any other? It doesn't have to be about ADHD. I mean. 7:55.
5 exclusive minutes.
5 exclusive.
How many times were we going to say?
I said exclusive.
Oh, Dr. Becky Kennedy. I love her. I feel like I was like one of her first 1,000 followers.
Oh, she's the one who did Good Inside.
Yeah. Okay. I love her.
I had donated copies of the book to the staff library at my son's elementary school.
Heidi donated copies of the book to the staff library. Thank you, Heidi. That means so. I know, and something else we feel very we really want to do is I was gonna say passionate, but that's like such a weird word to say about this. We want to make sure we're getting this book in the hands of
adamant.
Yeah, or
we want to do it. Like we
want to like donate the book to school libraries or just people. We just want to make sure teachers have access to it,
or public libraries.
Yeah. And it became when you're launching a book, it's a lot of time and work, and it became kind of overwhelming to track how that went. So now I think we'll have some space and time to do that. Yeah.
Any suggestions for job hunting and interviewing?
So
I'm have to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's a
is anyone good at that?
Job hunting and interviewing. I do have a friend named Hillary who works in recruiting. I mean, specifically if you have ADHD, I do know I have a couple of friends going through the job. I think it would be very challenging because I have one friend, she applied to like 100 jobs, but the whole like spreadsheet organization of like the process, extreme organization. I'm spreading your book. Thank you. Thank you guys for recommending this book to people. Okay. Yes. Any more questions?
I give one shout out to Julie. She emailed us earlier today.
Okay.
And told us about a website she used called goblin.tools. It has a magic to-do list. Basically, you put in what you need to do, and it breaks it down into smaller subtasks.
I love that.
Is it an app?
It's a website.
Okay.
Goblin.tools.
Goblin.tools. And then Lisa Holly said someone suggested ChatGPT for practicing job interviews. So I love this community. That is such a great idea.
Yeah. Like it interviews you?
Well, no, it gives you interview questions. So I will say I used to teach presentation skills training, and I used to help people prep for job interviews. And how we would do that is we would record people, and then we would play it back, and then they would see how they were fidgeting. And now, especially since things are on Zoom, and it's so hard on Zoom. And again, this has nothing with ADHD. If possible, get ChatGPT to give you sample job questions, set up your phone, and do a practice interview, and like just watch it back. And it is, I mean, I struggle watching myself. Like, I'm not going to watch this back. I'm horrified when I watch myself. So that's good practice too.
Shout out to Jason. He's in the chat. He was on your podcast when we played What the Flock Live.
Jason!
Was he the teacher? Or was
he was in the class.
Oh my God, Jason.
I remember the teacher.
Yeah. He's got the book, the audiobook. He's already started it. It's fantastic. My wife and daughter both have ADHD, and I want to learn more.
Jason, we love teachers, and we love you. Thank you. Okay. Well, unless there's anything else. I mean,
thank you. Yeah, thank you. I said we'd try to get him out before 8. Let's keep our promise.
I know. I mean, it's 7:59, and this bra is still on.
Yeah, this is
to end it. Kate has her 9-year-old daughter do crossword puzzles at bedtime to calm her down.
Yes.
Penn loves a crossword.
Yeah, I think that's what they're referring to. So yeah. So Kate, look, you guys are all just really good parents. Yeah. Like you're helping your kids, you're doing the work, you obviously love them, and you're hanging out with us on a Wednesday night, and Sam and her exclusive deals. And
Any more exclusives do we have,
yeah,
Sam? Any more exclusives?
I was just telling, I hope I'm saying her name right, Mikona. If she can rewatch this live stream. So as far as I know, as long as you come back to this link, you can watch it again.
Exclusively.
But it's unlisted, so you can only watch
really?
it if you
Exclusive.
have the link.
Yeah.
Well, that's an exclusive. That's,
I love it.
That's the definition.
I like it.
So, and Sam, let's dream up some other exclusives we can offer.
I'm wondering if we need to put Borcher on a shirt or something.
Borcher.
But is that like too dark?
I think that's too dark.
It's
maybe
giving,
it's a
heavy
Well,
metal.
let's think of
maybe it's sticker.
Let's think of a way to make it funny. Not now, but I like Borcher as a
So
teacher.
this is how it works. This is how
we go.
they're like, should we? And then it's like, Borcher. I think is
Boredom is torture. Period. It's Borcher.
Or how about boredom plus torture equals Borcher?
Boredom equals torture.
Boredom.
I thought
plus
boredom
torture.
is torture.
No, but that sounds like you're making boredom and torture two things different.
So,
like boredom plus.
So
somebody
Madeline says, "How long is this?" Obviously, too long.
She's like, "I want to go."
Yeah, we're done. We're done.
Well, okay.
We're
we love you guys.
If you have additional questions, you can always email us at info@theholdernessfamily.com.
info@theholdernessfamily.com.
Yes.
All of our stuff's available at theholdernessfamily.com.
Oh my gosh. Hannah Craig from New Zealand. I think New Zealand. That's the farthest.
Good morning, Hannah.
It's 11. I checked.
That's why I say good morning.
Because you said, is she going to work? And I was like,
oh, well, but maybe she works a night shift. Maybe she doesn't have a job. Okay. I love you guys. Thank you.
Good night.
Good
We love
night.
you. Thanks so much for being part of
I
this.
don't know how to end this.
It's so exclusive.
It's very exclusive.
Yeah,
this
bye.
is very exclusive. Love you.